Hello and welcome, my friends. Habage here, and we're back once again for some more hardcore vanilla Minecraft. Welcome to you, returning viewers, and anybody who may be visiting for the first time. We are a couple hundred and some, like 210-ish episodes into a core vanilla Minecraft world, which we call Toehold on Eternity, or Toe for short. And as you can see, we are hanging out in our cozy underground lodge slash lair here. And what we're going to do today, if we can track one down, I think there may be one here. Every once in a while, we get that little straggler, and I don't know where he pops up from, but not the most welcome of friends. So what I was trying to do was track this down. Bring a spare end chest with us, and let's get moving. No time to waste on this one. Um, when we get set up, we're gonna kind of exclusively be looking just at the same old view every time. So apologies and forewarning if you want to skip ahead. I don't blame you, but we've got an important task to accomplish on this episode today, and we'll see how far we can get with a single episode, specifically targeted. So what we're doing is going through our portal here to the end stronghold. Boom. And we're not going to jump in the lava. No, no. We are going to go right on through to our end island. Man, every time that loads up, it reminds me of that terrifying first arrival. It was no good. So one of the things that we had talked about doing, and maybe we should go about reestablishing this, and I wasn't sure how the game treated underneath these columns that we've begun to hollow out, but we'll kind of make a recut this one just to have it, and that does free up our need to really have a spare ender chest again. I just wasn't sure what, if anything, we had. Um, Also seems to have kept our overflow pearl. Not that we didn't long ago overwhelm its capacity, but yeah, by keeping the chest there, if we ever find that we need extra, we'll have it. Almost there. This is just a good warm up, right? Alright, now of these, is that one actually taller? Or is that just, I think it is. I think that's our big boy. So, what we're going to do here is start with a little border ring around here. merely a guide at this point. Okay, that did all stay at the same level, which is good. Now, what we're going to do is scaffold up here. For one thing, this will give us a nice idea of how tall this tower really is. Not 64 tall. Okay, that's fine. A long way up, though. Alright, so now my idea is to give myself just a real good four-finger workout. Four-finger, not like four-finger discount kind of deal, but my forefinger, my index finger. I am just going to kind of hold it down by looking right at our feet at the block that we're always clearing. We should avoid aggroing any of the Endermen. And by stopping at the ring of stone that we could put up, we'll have a good little reference to preserve, I guess, a bunker, if you want to call it that, for potentially doing more Enderman harvesting along the way. Alright, so there we go. We can just right on back over and do another loop. So what's our... Yeah, this is bringing a flashback back. You just check here. We're in about 8 minutes. And there is no screen obscuring our scene. I remember in the slow cooker world when I did this, we basically combined an episode. I think it was just the second time. I don't think we'd ever respawned the dragon in that one before we fought the Wither. We did the Wither fight relatively early in that world. Similar kind of setup and all that. We just, I think we did our... I think we waited on the bubble until 17 came out, right? Does that sound good? But at some point along the way, we respawned the dragon. It came out, and we had a beacon. So I just took an episode where I respawned the dragon, fought it, and then cleared an obsidian tower like this. And not only was it this high riveting level of action, I realized with about 4 minutes left when I was doing a final time check that I'd had a slide up in front of the screen the entire time that I was doing it. And oops, yeah, a couple of those goofs along the way. But that one felt no good at all. Alright, well, we got two. Like I said, we'll kind of see how we do with this one. What we get basically out of using the episode, but we want to not over harvest, right? So we'll go back, take whatever we get in this episode, um, take that back, do the ceiling. We've got a little bit of obsidian already around. I don't like to use up every last little bit I have. Like to keep some in the goodie box or whatever for portals if we need them. But this does give us, or should give us, a good start. If we can get that top level completely done, I'd feel pretty good about where we're at. That would give us a chance to then refocus on clearing the interior. And I was thinking our space is pretty big, and the sizing is so arbitrary, right? There's no right, wrong, anything like that. Just kind of go for a big room in which to fight it. So we may just line what we have of that perimeter with obsidian. So then we'd have what, like 4 more levels of that interior to clear, and we'll be done. Ready to have our fight. But I don't know how much time that's actually going to take. The other piece is um, cl- carving out the spaces for our collateral damage victims, if we want to call them that. Um, I'll save I'll save what that is for the folks that maybe didn't see Slow Cooker when we did a similar deal. Save that for the day of, so you guys can see when we're setting it up. But needless to say, we're gonna have some other targets in a controlled environment for that wither to focus on at the beginning of its party, right? Talked about the wither being kind of like a toddler, a 4-year-old or something like that at a birthday party. You just kind of cover everything in plastic tarping and hope for the best, right? Hope they don't destroy anything too irreplaceable or priceless in the midst of their fun. That's how we're gonna treat our wither. But let's see what else. In recent movie watching news, watched a couple more. Kind of, again, it's October. It's a good movie season. So my latest two offerings for everyone are the first I watched. Not that strong a recommendation really, and I probably should have known, but I think it was Netflix. I saw both of these on, and I pulled it up, and this one just recommended. I think off my I think my most viewed or favorite genre of late is sci-fi, and I'm very much all over the place. But a good um, mind bender of a sci-fi, space sci-fi, that kind of stuff. Really good. And I'd mentioned that I'd watched the Bond movie recently, and there were some previews in there. One of which was for Dune, the latest iteration of making a movie about Frank Herbert's classic novel, and um, that kind of got my juices flowing. I've been watching a lot of horror, which isn't typically my favorite genre, but I've been feeling it. Especially some of the international or more classic horror films have been treating me well lately. So I watched the 16th Floor first, which I think was a couple years old. I don't think I'd ever heard of it, and I kind of knew going in it had I think like 14 and over rating as opposed to like a horror with a TVMA, which usually if I'm gonna go for it, give me some gore, give me some real horror, get it to that what used to be an equivalent of like an R rating on a horror movie is pretty good in my book. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be. I don't think The Sixth Sense was an R-rated movie, and that's one of my favorite all times of any genre. So by no means do I rule something out because of that. And I was willing to give this one a chance, so I did. Didn't think it quite lived up to the hype. It could have been um, a lot more to it, and I do get some of that premise. It's just the way the story's built up. You can have a very limited set, a very limited cast, but I just thought the whole premise was kind of kooky, and they didn't go into any explanation of why they, um, without spoiling anything. Um, they've got these kids locked up in what the kids understand to be an orphanage, right? They're getting basically brainwashed and conditioned um, as they go through their lives in this orphanage. And you kind of think like, oh, all right, everything's got this kind of just like a rundown thing, and you're kind of thinking like, are they going to be assassins? Is it like human trafficking kind of deal? You kind of get, okay, these kids are growing up, and it's a not ideal situation. Um, but even though the kind of the big reveal in the movie is what they're actually doing, which comes towards the end, all the way along, it's not good, right? Most of the movie is about a couple of them discovering from within that they're being fed a bunch of baloney, right? And then trying to get away. But it's like so elaborate, They get these kids and they're keeping them in there for 10 plus years in their life, and the baddies kind of talk about how they're stuck in this situation. They've got to be so fully invested for it. But they never go into why. Like, why would you have to do that? That's really weird. So it's a little thin to the point of making it's just tough to watch. And I didn't think it was that gripping of performances, or there wasn't a bunch of suspense, there wasn't a bunch of jump scares or anything like that. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, it's kind of unsettling, but okay. Um, but the movie that I watched after that stole the show, and that was again on Netflix. Again, Korean, a product of the Korean industry. This was hashtag alive, and I don't know if it is directly tied into Train from Busan, which is one of my favorite current movies. Um, if it's supposed to be tied, kind of like parallel universe type thing, where it's the same event from a different perspective or not. If there were tie-ins to that, I didn't pick up on those very well, but it's another zombie outbreak kind of deal. But this kid who he's a teenager, right? And parents have gone on a little vacation or whatever. He basically had left him some cash in an envelope on the thing and said, "Hey, go pick up some groceries. Don't starve or anything like that. We love you. We'll be back and see you soon." And of course, he just he just plays video games all night and oversleeps, and the next day all heck's broken loose, right? And there's zombies running all over the place. And he ends up stuck in his apartment. Um, as basically the world falls apart around him, and you know, so often with the zombie genre, whether it's a movie like Train to Busan, where there's no slowdown, right? In that one, they're just constantly moving, and there's people on the train, and everywhere the train stops, everything is just bad. Go, 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 go. This really deals a little bit more with the the psychological part of this guy's relatively safe when he's in his apartment, but he's totally cut off. Doesn't know what's happened with his family. Doesn't know, is increasingly cut off from the world as TV and all that fails. Um, and is safe from the zombies if he doesn't do anything, but is running out of food and water and everything else, and not very well equipped to get by without it. One of my big flaw issue things is they seem to have electricity at will. Kind of throughout, right? It's never a big problem to recharge phones or anything like that, and like at sometimes the lights all go out and they're relying on lanterns and hot plates and that kind of stuff. But then the rest of the time, there's a lamp plugged in or something like that. So it was very odd in that sense what they what the rules were. Excuse me, I need that coffee going. I guess this is not the most riveting of gameplay, but it is Minecraft, and sometimes, especially in hardcore, you gotta just love the grind a bit. Um, so we will keep grinding. This is about a week exactly. No, I guess it was Sunday night when I started. So I've been doing the OSRS thing, old school RuneScape, for a week or so now, and I had a lot of fun with that too. But that's super grindy as well, and so there's gives a lot of time for movies. Another one that I watched at some point along the way was yeah, one second. Big Tom got the yawns. Man, I don't know if I can come up with the title of it. Had Woody Harrelson in it. Was it like a Japanese assassin thing? Obviously, Kate is the name of the movie, I believe, and the title character is Kate. I don't know who the actress was that played her. I'm sure I should know, but I'm pretty bad at all that actresses thing. Or actors and actresses. The only reason I know Woody Harrelson is because he was Woody in Cheers. Kind of always stuck. And I was a pretty little kid when Cheers was wrapping up, but that was one that came on after the news when, after dinner or whatever, parents would be sitting around watching the news, and we kind of all hang out and do that maybe for a very little while. Like when I was in junior high, Carson was still on, and then quickly replaced kind of in the beginning of the late show rotation until Letterman kind of established himself as the next king of late night. Which I don't know. Do people still watch the individual late night shows? I know, by the time I was like in college, when I was a freshman, my roommate and I, we watched Letterman all the time. That was, still entertaining and edgy. And I think by the second year, or certainly when we were into it, things like The Daily Show were already beginning to start taking an edge out of that. I was like, these are what we kind of quickly outgrew. I think that's part of it. When you get to college, you're like, oh, that's past. But yeah, I recall, in that first year, thinking that Dave Letterman was so edgy because he would have these kind of like unspoken weed jokes that were in there. And nowadays, it's so throwaway. And of course, legalization and all that has changed the equation. I've probably outgrown a lot of that kind of stuff anyway. But nowadays, no comedian even has to work at it. But oh man, when it was still very much a no-no, you really didn't like none of the major TV shows or anything talked about it openly, and that was where comedy movies did and could, but TV shows, things like South Park that came out, a lot of the cartoons, I think that was in part, and I'm not a big anime person, so I don't know what a lot of the appeal is there for the international anime stuff, but when South Park hit, it was so eye-opening because they were doing stuff that actual actors and actresses, there was no way they could get away with saying the stuff that the little cartoon kids on South Park were talking about. It was pretty edgy stuff, and you know at the time there were Eddie Murphy had been years before with his stand-up stuff. Um, Chappelle's show was still a few years in the future, but uh, things. Oh, got my keys off. Things like South Park um, really did open those up, and then later thing shows like that '70s show and some of those came along, and they were uh, running on a lot of the success of shows like. Fast Times at Ridgemont High had a little bit much earlier. What was the '70s? Dazed and Confused, right? That was one of the movies that was like, here you go, celebratory stoner nostalgia movie, and the culture just very quickly seemed to have changed at that point where mainstream all of a sudden got very very conscious. And of course, look at music has always been the trendsetters and stuff, but about that time you had Cypress Hill and Snoop and Dr. Dre and all those guys were hitting a very wide audience at that point. So there was lots of kind of weed culture going very mainstream at that point, and it mixed things up. So how that I got us. Well, I guess Woody has always been the big stoner guy. Was one of the one of the things, and that was the movie. Um, the third movie that I was going to talk about a little bit. So that one very very gore, intense action, assassin-y kind of movie, um, which they billed as a John Wick meets Crank. And I think Crank was the Statham one, where he basically gets, a terminal thing where he's going to die if his heart rate ever goes below, 175 beats a minute or something crazy, right? It was silly. This was similar type deal, a little bit more like nod to a story. But basically, someone with nothing left to lose, um, trying to make a last impression with the time she's got left. It's good. It's good for, that was popcorn, no brainer. Watch for the action and all that kind of stuff, and let it wash over you. But yeah, I gotta say of the three, again, no huge surprise, but hashtag alive, big winner out of the trio of stuff that I watched most recently. So there you have it. Fun with staring at Obsidian and talking movies. Um, Again, I'm not sure what's going to be next on the list either. I've kind of just been. I don't know why I went all the way back around here. I think I can just ride the ride the scaffolding all the way up. Oops. Um, yeah, I haven't gone in with a lot of. I don't know if agenda's right, but like that. Hey, I wanna watch this specifically. There are some out there that I think I'd like to watch, but you gotta kind of be in the mood. And there's Oh, there's so many good movies out right now. Between my two most viewed platforms, Netflix and Prime, it's too much. And having watched those trailers in front of the Bond movie and the theater movie, which was novel, I picked up my copy of Dune and started reading through that too. So I think it comes out on the 22nd. So not a lot of time. I don't have any real plans to watch that as like a first deal. And I remember well, I don't know if I think it was the original Dune movie. You film buffs and people that are better at the movie Hollywood trivia stuff than I am would probably know better. But the one from the 80s. That was, as I recall, a very long, slow kind of movie, and I compare that, having just talked about how I thought the most recent James Bond was way too long for what it was. They could have done a lot more editing on that, gotten it down to a manageable size. Nobody would have felt shortchanged. I don't know why why all of a sudden long equals better, but again, like so many other things, it's cyclical, and there's been lots of times when I've been like, man, what? Really? We're gonna mail in like an 80-minute something and call it a movie? I'd much rather have them go long and try to cheat in more story than just go short. But we'll see what they do with this latest Dune. What that turns out to be. I know. I think I'd tried to watch the movie Dune a few times, and I didn't come into that novel until fairly late in my uh, love of reading science fiction. Um, and I don't think I'd really even made it through the movie. As I recall, it's the beginning doesn't, you don't know a lot about what's going on. It's a hard universe to just step into. It's not like everybody can relate to the Star Wars: A New Hope, right? The 1973 one, was that what it was? 76, 5, whenever it came out. Um, and there your very first introduction is Darth Vader jumping on the uh, Princess Leia's transport, and lasers shooting all over the place and robots going across a hallway. Everybody knows that you're just immediately in. Well, Dune doesn't try to be that, and is very rightfully unapologetic about what it's gonna be, um, which is kind of a look at politics and um, how this noble society relates to others outside of it, and how people in a what is otherwise supposed to be a barony, or what is it, duke? I think he's a duke, right? I don't know. But it's a feudal system, and uh, the Fremen are just this complete society of people that you say whatever. You guys call owning this planet whatever you want. You don't know anything about how to live here, be successful, and I think that's pretty cool in and of itself. But I remember that original '80s movie of Dune. That it's so slow as the little assassin bot thing is coming in, and um, the Deeb, whatever his name is before that, he has to just not move to let it go by, right? It's like so slow and boring. And I don't think I'd ever actually made it all the way through until I'd read the whole book, because that's a lot of Obsidian. How are we doing on time though? It is 34 minutes, so this is good. Hope this isn't killing you guys too much. Talking a little movies and entertainment as we go. But we've taken some good stacks, and as you can see, we're filling up our inventory here. If we should fill up before we're out of town, I think rather than filling shulkers, we'll just go back with what we've got and see how far that gets us in our project. Um, but yeah, as I mentioned, I picked up the book again, hoping to maybe plow through that prior to my actually seeing that movie, because that's one I'd like to check out. And it felt like there were a ton of trailers, and honestly, not too many of them really hit me hard. The new Ghostbusters sequel kind of thing was in there, and it, as I understand it, and I'm not a big pursuer of stories on this kind of stuff or anything, but my impression was that the recent remake of Ghostbusters was not widely adopted by the former cast any more than it was by fans. It was kind of a flop. It would appear that the Stranger Things kid version is maybe a little more true to the original and the spirit of it. It also gave me a very Transformers vibe, like some of the late ones of those, where they're, all of a sudden it's, hey, we're out in the country, and it's like, how did that ever work in with a story about the New York City Ghostbusters? But I don't know. With good reason, I'm gonna keep my hopes low on that one. There's a trailer for a new Jackass. I never really got into those. I think I kind of missed the window just a bit. It's a little bit too old for those when they came out initially. Although Johnny Knoxville and some of those guys are old, like 10 years older than I am. It's like, wow, you guys are still doing that to yourselves? You're crazy. But more power to them. It looked funny, looked like more of the same. I don't know if they'll really catch a new audience, and I don't know how much of their original audience. I'm sure they go back and watch it for laughs and all that, but we shall see. And there was one that I wanted to be so excited about. It was right on the heels of the Dune trailer, and it's clearly going to be apocalyptic kind of stuff, and it just keeps showing this moon getting closer and closer, and it ended up being something called Moonfall, which I haven't heard of. I don't know what that's all about, but I was so hoping it was going to be Seven Eves. When the novel Seven Eves came out, there was some talk that was being given a script treatment for production, and I think it kind of died. I don't think that there's been any active stuff, but I would have loved to have been surprised to find out that, oh yeah, they did do that. Nobody got any word of it, and here we go. We've got a new movie, because that would be, oh, so good. Uh, but again, probably, now that we have a Korean film culture, um, industry, whatever, that's it's kind of like, hey, let's try some other stuff. Hang on one second. Um, they would maybe try. I don't know that it exactly fits into the Hollywood deal. Although I think it could work if done right. But yeah, well, we'll see. Anyway, it was Moonfall. Looked interesting. Like maybe the moon gets nudged a little bit towards Earth, and it has a countdown with an imminent impact kind of scenario. I don't know. Seems a little bit like Armageddon was back in the day. Um, we'll see. See how that one panned out. There was some new Marvel cinematic deal. I want to say it was the Invincibles, but I don't think that was it. Eternals? Something? I don't know. All I was like, I leaned over to a buddy who was an old comic book guy, and I'm like, "Is that Cyclops? Is this like a DC crossover deal?" We got some uh, X-Men and Avengers universe colliding or something. He's like, "No, other stuff." I'm like, okay, didn't. I'm still down. I'm sure I'll see it when it comes out, but I'm kind of losing traction on the superhero stuff. The the last one that I really thought was well, there were a couple kind of right in a row, but it's been a minute now. Um, I thought the first Guardians of the Galaxy and the first uh, Deadpool were absolutely awesome. And then it is the king of formula like that. As much as people love to, oh, Hollywood formula stuff, why do they always do this? Because it makes a lot of money and people will go see it and it's guaranteed blockbusters, right? Of course, how can you blame them for making those movies? They're hugely popular for a reason. They've got the oohs and the ahs and the, as much as we aren't allowed to say anymore, they've got the sex appeal for whatever your taste is, right? It's chiseled, bare-chested dudes and scantily clad ladies, and a mix of everything with a lot of punches and vehicles and all superpowers and all the rest of it. Yeah, you're gonna keep going back to that well until it literally dries up on you. So I'm sure it'll be fine for what it is, but not one that I am just marking on my calendar. Um, Trying to think what else there was. As I've said a few times, that Bond movie was so long. It felt like it had been a week after as I was walking out of the theater from when the previews had gone or trailers. So I don't know. Those are some of the highlights, particularly Dune. I I will hope for the best. Um, and I'm still going to try to figure out what I want to watch for more spooky, scary movies. Um, I think I saw somewhere that one of them had The Omen, and I haven't watched that for a long time. But in line with Wicker Man and some of the other kind of European, England, Scotland horror movie type stuff, that would be a good one to keep up. There was something like the lair of the white worm or something like that with the I don't know anybody's name. Who's the British guy? He's getting a little older now. Uh, it's in like Howard's End and some of those kind of things. Four Weddings and a Funeral or one of those. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. He uh, he was in that one as a young guy, and that was pretty entertaining. A surprise early on. I think that was still in September when I saw that, but kind of got me on this whole like, oh yeah, a little earlier and a little different formula than the '80s slasher movies that I grew up on, which I've kind of been holding off on. Just because I've seen more of them, and I've really some of the ones that I'd never seen of the classics, and some that um, I haven't seen since one time when I was pretty young, and probably like hiding under the edge of a blanket or something for parts of them because they were just scarier as a kid. I haven't seen the original Exorcist in a long time. That would be another one. The original Psycho I haven't seen in a long, long time. That would be one I wouldn't mind seeing. Again, the problem is, you think that, and then you pull it up, and immediately as it starts, you remember all of it right away, and that's why I really have been trying to go a little bit off my own radar and find different ones to watch instead of rewatching stuff, unless it's been 15, 20 years since I've watched something. That's like Sixth Sense. I'd love to watch that again. Um, but the shock's gone. I have rewatched it, and now I've seen it enough. You kind of remember every every piece of the story as it's coming along. Like, oh yeah, I remember when they did that. You remember being surprised and misled a little bit, but none of that's genuine again. And once you've gone back through and watched something like that that catches you off guard to kind of put the pieces back together, after that it's like, okay. Here I am yawning again. Really trying not to look those guys in the face. So, in case we were wondering, looks like we got those three are the next candidates for the biggest towers. Um, Still working off this back side. So we'll keep doing that. So yeah, I don't know. But I was talking a little. Here we go again. The caffeine stands no chance against the Obsidian ride. I'm sure if there are three of you guys that are still watching this with sound at full speed or at regular speed, God bless you. You've earned it. I'm gonna guess this one. Maybe you guys are good enough to give it a quick look, and then okay, yep, we're mining Obsidian, and then move on. It'll get better once we have that beacon, but until we do, it's a pretty tedious process. But I do have to say, I think the recipe we've got here is a little better than what we've done in the past in terms of trying to like carve our way down without staring at Enderman. Just taking these down one column at a time, not having to worry about where the pick is aimed, or looking at something beyond the blocks. It's pretty good to me. It is also sorely tempting. We could just do one wither underneath the end portal, and then when that's all done, then we could go back and fight him. But no, that's not the principle. Because if you're gonna fight him, you gotta fight him the first time, not just some arbitrary time along the way. Um, but I don't want to have to just constantly be setting up elaborate fight venues just to respawn the dragon when we get to that point. Because we want to get all those portals eventually too. So after we've done the one, then we'll call it good and uh, try to get more stars for more beacons that way. And then we can leave our one or two out here for future dragon fights. It sure is nice to get dual effects. Have some regen. The one that you don't get is the slow fall. Um, but a little strength. I think strength is one, right? We can get some strength, some haste. Not haste. Well, haste for the towers, but for the fights themselves, a little defense, a little healing, a little strength, maybe a little speed. Works out pretty good. Then all we have to do is watch um, our slow fall potions and take those dragons out. All right. I know someday we'll get that side. Yeah, it'll go next. One or the other of these sides to get the path back to the scaffold a little cleaner. Although, where's the fun in not having the question, are we gonna fall off or are we not? Getting close to our time here. Maybe we can finish up this side. Let's see. It's 22 past right now. I think we can go till 31, and I'd like to get back. I believe we haven't slept since the last time we had our bed out here. Um, May keep that going. Still idly trying to get a um, zombie villager to follow us that we could put out in the yard for a storm and uh, get that last setup done. And we need skeleton horses too. Have yet to even see those. Three more. That was 2 minutes or less. We got to get back up too, though. I don't know how far into the 22nd minute we were. I don't have a kind of elaborate. I'm just looking at the clock on my laptop. Haven't fallen yet. This will be the time when I'm trying to hurry to get these pillars knocked down. Or this will be the point when we fill up our inventory. Now that we're getting close. That was even quicker. It was within a minute. Go, go, go. Climb faster with the space than the W. Maybe double fast? No, I don't think that speeds us up at all. I don't know what that sound was. We're in the end. Maybe just a weird portal. One of those purple beams of light going through. Although we're not particularly close to either of them. We have active. Got enough room. Oh, gotta I have to like ice down my finger on the next break to cancel out some of this mashing of the pick button. One more to go. We're into the 27th minute. Time got about 4 left. But just a quick portal jump when we get down to the bottom. Can't imagine we'll be much beyond 29. Gonna be perfect, guys. What could go wrong? That's why we got our totem in the left hand. So do we think in the back at the dig site, right, where we're going to have the room, the arena, do we think it's worthwhile to fill in that gap at the top for the purpose of filling the ceiling? The one wide right up the middle. I think maybe we'll use dirt there. Because it'll break back with a shovel almost instantly, quicker than stone would. So, all right, that's it. Now we're gonna go right over here. Boom, boom, boom. Right on back. This should take us to the base, or not. Darn it. Oh, because I guess we didn't sleep at all since I've launched the game. Maybe, I don't know. That's weird. This is what? Why? Oh, that's just that was a huge optical illusion. I'm like, what? Why am I in a room? All right. So it's not our longest walk, but we gotta kind of shake a tail feather here. To not end up any slower than we were so close to being timely. Hopefully he's going to wander around the long way, not give us any more trouble. Gassed, we don't have time for you. There it is. Oh, it's 30. Got to be done in the 31st. No sips of coffee. I don't have time to risk it. All right, now don't need this. I don't know where we came up with zombie flesh, but whatever. Oh, that was upstairs, right? Right at the beginning of this episode. Do need maybe 2 of these. And do we have extra here? I think we got enough. another stack or two, right? Ooh, not really. I guess we'll take it. All right, we're gonna eat and call it good right here, because I know we're close. An hour and 7. Darn it, we were so close. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. If you're still here, like I said, you are the heroes of the audience. Way to stick it out through a nice obsidian mining thing. Hopefully that gets us all, if not most, of our ceiling covered with the obsidian, and then we can get to clearing out the rest of the stone before setting up the walls. I'm sure we don't have enough to do walls and floor and everything else, but if we can make a good start in the next episode, all the better. Anyway, until then, you guys take care. Have a good little break, and next one will be up shortly. See ya.